I can't do this drug and that drug, and I can't just do it and take it in moderation. I can't just do these things. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, it took me that long, you know, those four or 5 years to actually realize, okay, I am an addict. I cannot take this stuff in moderation. I can't fuck with it at all. There's something in that triggers in my brain that will not allow me to stop when I take one of whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Which also basically which also means that I can't drink. I can't do anything that's gonna jeopardize my sobriety. I could wake up with a hangover and say, okay, my fucking head is aching and my body hurts and I feel like I want a Vicodin now. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, it'll just lead me to other things. So, I mean, even NyQuil and over-the-counter medicine, I mean, that's where the shit kind of started in the first place. You know what I mean? It was something that simple. And then, I'm going to take it tonight. And that'll get me through tonight. And then the next night comes along and then I'm like, oh, if I just take more, then, you know, this will get me to sleep again tonight. Oh, this much didn't work. Now I got to take more and more and more and more. You know what I mean? And then now this ain't strong enough. I need to go to the next volume. I need to go to the next thing. You know what I mean? So I have to stay 100% sober at all times. Which, by the way, means going to meetings. Which means having a sponsor. Which means doing practicing the steps. Doing everything in my power to stay sober now. Not just half-assing it and saying, you know, like,
I went through rehab, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah, I'm okay now. I'm done. I don't have a problem anymore. Like, okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing with this now. No, I am taking every step, every day, which is a lifelong process for the rest of my life.
Which brings us to Beautiful, which you mentioned before. That is the song that captures you in a moment where you were battling everything, and you hadn't necessarily, you know, said to yourself,
I'm an addict. Yeah. I hadn't come to that realization. I couldn't. First of all, you can't. Anybody who's in recovery cannot. Like, you have to admit it. You have to surrender. You have to do the whole thing. You know, not to keep preaching or anything like that. But you have to do it 100%. You just can't half-ass it. You have to say, I'm an addict. I'm powerless over this shit. I can't do it. You know what I mean? But at that point in time, I wouldn't admit it to myself. I couldn't admit it to nobody else. And it actually, I think, it's the only song on the record that I actually did and used for the record from that and recorded from that time period when I was going through.
Was that like your period of that you could say, okay, that was rock bottom?
That time period was fucking horrible for me, and it captures that, I think, in that song, and it's actually the only song that I feel like was good enough and made sense to use for the record. From that time period, because that again was when I was kind of going through the writer's block, I felt like, and I couldn't exactly write a record that I felt like was just up to par. Everyone has their own standards for themselves. You know what I mean? And that wasn't particularly up to, like, nothing I was doing really at that time period was up to my own self standards or whatever.
Was it a point of you keeping this on there as a reminder?
Well, it was that, and I also feel like the song is, to me, it's a powerful song in the sense of, you know, anybody who can relate to it. I guess who's kind of going through it or who's kind of in a dark place. You know, it's kind of a reminder to myself and to other people, like, you can get out of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not, you know, it may feel like the end of the world for right now or whatever, but it does get better if you decide that, you know, that's what you want, and you work toward it. It does, you know. It does get better. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Excellent. We're through with all the heavy shit, you know, because those are the two heaviest records.
Now let's bring on the heavy artillery.
Word up.
Know what I mean?
You know, we're gonna go back to some more rhyming Marshall. Rapping Marshall is what I call it. There's a song that concludes the album, Underground, which is obviously something that is synonymous with your career because of where you came out of. Talk